Hi there, I have been reading the book Freedom from Your Fears by Napoleon Hill, and today I want to share some notes I took and things that I'm using to improve the way I learn English and to change my mindset while I'm trying something new. I also learned a lot of new words and I'll be sharing some of them throughout the video. I will be also practicing how to pronounce them because they're new for me and we will be learning together. I picked this book because I am a big fan of Napoleon Hill and all of his teachings. He's the writer who had the most impact in my life. And this book is all about overcoming fear. And I saw a lot of connections with learning a new language. Learning a new language involves a lot of fears, especially the fear of judgment. And we need to find ways to face that fear and to use that fear in our favor. So stay with me to figure out why we feel so much fear and how we can overcome this feeling that is so destructive. So the author emphasizes that we need to see fear the way it really is, which is just a feeling. And mindset really matters. Mindset is the way you think about things, is the way you see the world. If you have a positive mindset, you will be always looking for the good side of things, even in bad situations. And if you have a negative mindset, you tend to see the bad side of everything. A positive mindset or a positive mental attitude, as the author says, is the secret behind those people we often call lucky. Those who have made it, which means those who have achieved a certain level of success in their careers or goals. But the truth is that those people often have something in common. They choose the road of faith instead of the road of fear. And even those people who seem lucky have experienced setbacks. And a setback is something that stops your progress when you are trying to move forward. So what makes them successful is their ability to remain steadfast when facing difficult times. Steadfast means being strong and unshakable when things get hard. And there's a lesson for English learners like me and you here. Our thoughts will determine our results. We can choose the road of faith or we can choose the road of fear. Fear of people judging our accent, fear of making mistakes, and so on. And this fear can lead us to a dark place. A place where we tend to resent others' good luck. And that's something that the author mentions a lot, which means feeling jealous or upset when we see other people conquering things that we wish. And the second thing I learned is that we live in unprecedented times. I have trained that word many times, which means that things that have never happened before in history are happening now. And if you read the book, you'll notice that the author is talking about the Great Depression that began in 1929 and affected economies worldwide, and it was just a very hard moment in history. But I believe we also live in unprecedented times full of challenges, but also full of amazing opportunities. And what makes the difference during these challenging times is something that the author calls a burning desire, which means a strong feeling, something you deeply want to achieve. A burning desire to speak English fluently, for example. And this kind of desire helps us to open our minds and see opportunities during difficult times. And I know that all of this conversation of building a positive mindset, it might seem simple, but in real life, it's very hard to do that. And why is it so difficult to keep a positive mindset and to feed our burning desire during difficult times? Here comes the third lesson. It's because we have two different people within us, each with opposite personalities. One is a negative sort of person who thinks and moves and lives in an atmosphere of fear and doubt and poverty and ill health. This self expects failure and seldom is disappointed. It thinks of the circumstances of life which you do not want but which you seem forced to accept. Poverty, greed, superstition, fear, doubt, worry, and physical sickness. And one is your other self, a positive sort of person who thinks in terms of opulence, sound health, love, and friendship. personal achievement, creative vision, service to others, and who guides you to the attainment of all of these blessings. And what can we do about the negative person within us who's constantly complaining, seeing the bad side of everything? Well, we need to confront it. So if there's a negative voice in your mind saying, for example, that your English is bad, that you'll never be fluent, that people will laugh about you, you should confront it with the truth. And the truth is that everyone is capable of improving their English and achieving a good level of fluency. And when we confront that negative voice, we begin to discover what the author calls our other self, that positive person who's always choosing the road of faith instead the road of fear. And this marks a turning point in our lives. A turning point is a moment when everything starts to change, whether it's your mindset or the direction you're going. So if you're going through a moment of crisis, it might actually be the perfect moment for you to experience a turning point. But when you don't have the courage or the energy to do that, something happens. By focusing on our perceived limitations and obstacles, our subconscious works silently and consistently to ensure that those constraints materialize in our lives. Okay, that's really serious. That's pretty dangerous. And makes perfect sense why the way we think is so important. That's why we need to constantly have positive conversations with ourselves, always confronting that negative voice with faith instead of fear, and removing negative thoughts before they take root in our subconscious mind. All thought has a tendency to clothe itself in its physical equivalent. The author keeps addressing different fears such as poverty, criticism, old age, and many others. But since I don't want this video to go on forever, I'll leave you with these insights to think about. And before you go, if you're struggling with English, I invite you to watch this video here where I talk about changing your mindset while learning a new language. Thanks for being here, and I wish you all the success in your English journey.